Welcome, friend, to Life and Liberty Radio. I'm David Householder, here to encourage your pursuit of happiness. You and our partners exploring our shared spiritual journeys. Together, we're dreaming and working for a free society. Tell others today about our adventure in faith and freedom. So breathe in, open your mind, lift up your spirit. Let's get started. One of the great blessings that I have in my life, being in ministry, pastoring a church, is my occasional connection with the recovery community, otherwise known as the 12-Step Movement, which started with a guy named Bill in Alcoholics Anonymous. And people just throw out little words like one day at a time, easy does it, are you in recovery, those kinds of things, my qualifier, all of these little phrases that are sort of buzzwords for the recovery movement. A lot of that's made its way into normal popular culture. But I believe that the recovery movement is something much, much more important than that. I was blessed to attend an Al-Anon meeting last night, and I also am blessed to be, for whatever reason, a person that people go to for what's called a fifth step, where people make a major step forward in their own recovery. And I've had people just show up at my workplace. For whatever reason, I'm known for doing fifth steps with people, and I often don't even know the names of the people I know their first name, but I don't really know who these people are. They'll just show up at work and say, I hear you do fifth steps. Can we do it now? I find it great for people in our church to have an opportunity to find recovery somewhere. And there's meetings all over the place all the time, and I really kind of think that everybody ought to be in recovery for something. It's called doing spiritual work and not just thinking about faith things theologically, but putting them to work in our lives. I think it also has rather large political ramifications, and I don't mean Republican versus Democrat or conservative versus liberal. I do believe that there is something fundamentally American about the 12-step or recovery movement. And it's this. I believe that it is the practicing and putting forth in our daily lives a non-coercive society, a voluntary society. One of the things we learn in the recovery movement is very simply not coercing other people, not making other people change, being responsible for ourselves, talking with people, perhaps persuading people, but never forcing anyone to do anything. In a way, it's living out the vision of the founders. It's also very much based on the founders' solution to the problem of diversity. And what I mean by that is the problem of philosophical and religious diversity. In the colonies, there were all kinds of different denominations and sects, and there was really no one dominant church of any kind. No church had a majority of the population, and so they solved the diversity problem by saying we're going to have the solution be a generic higher power spirituality. If you look at the founding fathers, none of them used the language of any denomination when addressing God. They would say the Almighty or Providence, or as we have in the Declaration of Independence, the birth certificate of the United States, it says the Creator. So there was a generic nod to God, a sense of destiny, a sense of creation. In the back of your dollar, it says Anduit Keptis. He approves of our endeavor. Nothing theologically precise, just a general sense of a creator, a general sense of Judeo-Christian values and language, but nothing denoting any one brand of that. And coming out of the Lutheran tradition, I know that we have a lot of insider language, which is very, very precise, not unlike engineering, and most all faith families have something like that. So the Founding Fathers had a solution to the problem of diversity, and it was not secularism. It was a generic spirituality. And the truth is, a generic spirituality works better as a solution for diversity than it does secularism or just non-religious thinking. And if you go to any 12-step meeting, people talk about generic spirituality and prayer, and they begin and they end with prayer. And there is no sense of an atheistic worldview. You can be an atheist there, but then you call atheism your higher power. So it has to fit into the generic spirituality. And the reason they do it is not some holdout for the past. The reason they do that is it works better in our lives to have that. And that way we can converse with one another about our spirituality in a way that everybody has the same software for it. And I do believe that our nation could relearn that. I think we've been fooled in the last generation into thinking that secularism is the solution to our diversity, whereas generic spirituality works much, much better, much more human. It's also very, very egalitarian. Nobody's in charge, and nobody controls anyone in these meetings. In fact, kind of anarchistic for first-timers, I think, is who's in charge here? What's going on? Why is there no authority structure here? And the Founding Fathers believed that we didn't need one, that a non-coercive society would be a little bit less efficient, but that would be worth it. And these meetings are not efficient, and they don't necessarily have high entertainment value, but there's a lot of emotional gravitas going on. It's also very inclusive. And what I mean by inclusive is not some PC thing, but very inclusive to newcomers. Anybody can come, and we hope you'll come back. And the original United States, up until the last few generations, was very welcoming of new people, immigrants. The idea that, yeah, we hope you'll show up, and we hope you'll participate in our free society, and nobody is forced to do so. There's never pressure to come back, but there's always an invitation to come back. There's also voluntary contributions. There's no dues. There's no taxes. They're not out to make money, and they're not out to grow the organization, per se. You don't see a 12-step high-rise anywhere, and there's nobody getting paid lots of money to run a major program, even the nationwide stuff, run by volunteers. And the country was supposed to be run that way, too. In fact, the military was even supposed to be run that way. Voluntary society, non-coercive. Nobody pressures anybody. Nobody makes anybody do anything. Nobody has to listen to what's going on. People share all the way through the meeting, and everybody gets a chance to talk, and there's some order to it, but people are limited in the amount of time they can talk. And I love the phrase where they say, take what you like and leave out the rest. Leave out the rest. So nobody has to agree on things, but certain values do make it to the top. And those values are reiterated over and over again. And I think there's nothing wrong with having those values. We're looking for, it seems like, a value-free society right now, which makes no sense when we have basic Judeo-Christian values, which I think are commendable. Don't kill. Tell the truth in court. Don't mess up someone else's marriage. Don't take someone else's property by force. Don't aggress against each other. Have a sense of a higher power. Honor your parents. And all of that. And that, by the way, is the Ten Commandments, which I don't think they don't belong to any religion. They really are generic spirituality, and they work really, really well. So I believe that the recovery movement is quintessentially American in that sense, and it would do everybody some good to find a recovery group, at least to dabble in, because everybody's got issues. And I would just invite you to visit one nearby sometime, but I'm not going to coerce you. You can go if you want. Well, that's all for today on Life and Liberty Radio. Thanks so much for sharing this part of your spiritual journey with me. Now, the views on this program are not necessarily those of my advertisers, sponsors, places I work, or do business with. They're purely my own, but I'm sharing them with you, so share your ideas with me. Write me on Twitter at Liberty House, LIBERTYHOUS, no E. Until next time, let's continue dreaming and working for a free and spiritually grounded society.